enter public session. Ms. Urbanowski, Ms. Minchella, all in favor? The vote is unanimous. We're now back in public session. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Do we have any agenda changes?
Yes, we have agenda changes to reports and personnel.
Thank you so much. That moves us on to our board president comments. And I wanted to just take a moment to recognize that we're entering the second half of our school year, which is always a weird time because there's so much of the year left, but you're already planning ahead to the year after that into summer. So it's so much planning, so much thought, but making sure that we're still living in that moment with our kids and the experiences they're showing us now. Both of my kids came home in the past few days after I prodded them, telling me about electives and classes they chose. They were just gonna, carry on with their day, like that wasn't anything big. But it made me pause and realize just how quickly that time goes and how hard they're working and how independent. And all of that is because of the teams working with them. I also just wanted to take a moment to recognize that the support that our community gives to each other, to our staff and to our families when times are good, but also when times are a struggle, whether they're big or small. And really just to thank everybody for being here today and the continued work that's going on for each of our kids. Do we have any points of interest? Okay. Any meetings? Do we have any visitor comments? Thank you, ma'am. All right, that moves us on to our reports section of the evening. We have our Gage-Chile High School NYC STEP trip proposal.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Brandy Brancato. I'm the MCC STEP Specialist. This is my colleague, Nicole Fideli. She is the MCC STEP Specialist at Gage-Chile Middle School. I'm at the high school. First slide here is just what our program's about and what we provide for the students at Gage-Chile High School. I currently have about 142 students with me in the program. I did this field trip last year. It was in November of last year. This year it was pushed a little further because we were waiting for funding by the state and I needed 3 months to present and plan to everyone, so that's why it's a little later this year. It's from March 18th to the 21st, a Wednesday to a Saturday. I chose that time being respectful to the calendar for school activities and events. I also did it because that Friday is a superintendent conference day, so I knew the students would already have that day off, so it's less days that they're away from their classrooms. I am choosing 22 sophomores and juniors with 4 chaperones. The students are chosen, just like last year, invite with an application that they filled out on why this would be beneficial to them. They were invited based on their grades. I checked to make sure grades were above, well in classes, participation in our program, and also interest in the trip and the colleges that we're going to visit. The trip is completely free for the students. The cost is covered by MCC STEP. The only thing the students would have to bring is spending money if they choose to. If not, there's no need. And then there's just the program objective. Itinerary is almost similar to last year's. Bus would arrive at 7:45 at our MCC campus that morning. We would end up at a lunch place in New York City, then going to Times Square and heading to a place called Skyscapes, then to our hotel that evening. The next day, we're visiting Fordham College. We've connected with the C-STEP college students at Fordham, and we're having a tour with them, a Q&A, and just a kind of a meet and greet with the students that are also part of STEP and C-STEP in New York City. We're heading to the American Museum of National History that afternoon, and then dinner somewhere in, I believe it's in one of the local areas near the Central Park, and then back to our hotel. The next day, we're heading to New York, NYU, New York University for a tour. Also specifying, because we're a STEM program, we're going to get into some of their science labs, biology labs there at the college and do some things with some of the professors there. And then then we're heading to the Ground Zero, 911, the 9/11 Memorial, and then dinner in Times Square that evening. And then Saturday morning breakfast, check out, and then head back to Monroe Community College about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been working with Kyla, just like I did last year, with all transportation and insurance requirements, making sure they're all up to Gates Chi standards. This is who I'm working with the travel, First Choice. And then the agency that put the whole tour together is Fantastic Tours. Her name was Kelly. And the last thing is pre-trip activities. Parents are going to meet with us. We're going to have a Zoom meeting with all the parents once all the applications are in. I'm also doing a parent meeting. We go over a contract, behavior and expectations while we're there, to answer any questions, to go over itinerary, what they should pack, especially for the weather in March. And then also just having all the students together so they can be with the all the students that are going on the trip together. Post-activity, students will just complete a survey like they did last year for me. It's just feedback that helps me show if the colleges were ones that they valued and learned from, and also helped me plan like the next future trip. So that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you guys so much. Do you guys have any questions? No, that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You too. All right, now we have our capital project update. Hi, guys.
Good evening. Unfortunately, we will not be doing another Kahoot tonight. It'll be back to a boring, regular old presentation. With me, I have Zach Mooney. He is with Campus Construction Management. He's presented once or twice to the board as well. Kurt could not make it tonight. Starting off with our Building Brighter Futures, we're almost to the end of this project. We started this over 2 years ago. The last area in phase 1 is the middle school music space. So our general trades contractor has been installing cabinets, ceilings, floor, and wall tiling throughout the space. We wrapped up the exterior work minus some sidewalks. We ran out of nice weather for that, so that will be done in the spring. And then the back of the middle school stage has an elevator going in along with a new set of stairs. The mechanical contractor started up their units and is currently going through testing. Electrical work, their final power components, putting in outlets, minor things like that, and then all the lighting is going in now. And then the plumbing work, the sinks, and the one drinking fountain in that space has gone in. Site work in phase 2, the middle school parking lot was striped. This happened back in December, and then the Florence Brasser bollards and sidewalk fencing went up. Inside of Florence Brasser, we turned over the art, the E&L, and the mental health suite in the middle of December. So all those spaces are occupied by staff now. And then the instrumental music, this was originally supposed to be in December as well. There was a last-minute flooring change, which we're waiting for that material to show up, and we expect that to be turned over shortly. And then the middle school fields, the masonry dugouts, the interiors of those have been completed, and then the floor base that goes on a couple of the rooms in the high school, nothing crazy there. The mechanical, electrical, plumbing, very similar story. We turned over the spaces that I previously mentioned at Florence Brasser, and then the middle school fields, the dugout and the field lighting has been wrapped up by our electrical contractor. Phase 3, the middle school bathrooms that will service the sports fields. So the walls were framed and drywalled. The ceilings have been drywalled with light fixtures cut in, and then the bathroom walls have been tiled and grouted. We're working our way onto the floors and into the hallways. And then the mechanical, electrical, plumbing have followed suit. So the mechanical units have been started up or brought power to them on the roof. Lighting is ongoing in that space, and then the toilet carriers are hung ready for tiling to be finished. So looking ahead, the middle school music, we're moving in over February break. So we're going to wrap up that space, clean it, and then we're working with Dr. Dan to complete that and get a proper move-in. Phase 2, like I mentioned before, instrumental music at Florence Brasser, and then the hallway and bathroom tile work. There is still some of that at Brasser as well. We've had a lot of tile work on this project. The remaining piece will be at Florence Brasser, And then the exterior paneling is nearly complete. We're waiting on a bench and some signage to go up outside of Florence Brasser. And we'll see a picture of that later on. The middle school fields, the only thing that remains there is punch list, and then when the weather turns, training the maintenance staff on how to maintain the fields. And then this is a typo here, but the phase 3 bathrooms should just be continued wall tiling, and then we're going to start mounting bathroom fixtures. And then our turnover for that is early March. Our budgets. Like I mentioned before, we're nearly done. 96% billed for phase 1, 95 for phase 2, and then phase 3, which is rather small, but moving along quickly, we're at 54%. Contingency is 1.8 million, and we've expended about 500,000 of our 615 in allowances. So we're really coming down to the end in terms of dollars. So this is the new band room in the middle school, the high ceilings, the acoustic foam, and that's all the music instrument storage, which is now inside of the room. This is another angle of that, the high ceilings, the fun light or ceiling fixtures, and the blue baffles are lights. This is the vocal room and the choral room that has mirrors along the back that'll have a curtain, and this is another fun ceiling in that space with all the lighting. And then this is the keyboarding room, which has a piano keyboard in lighting on the ceiling. This is the principal's office at Florence Brasser. The ceiling went in over December break. And then this is the paneling that I was talking about outside of Florence Brasser. We're 95% complete with this. And this is what some wall tile looks like in the bathrooms. Wall tile with some floor tile going in. Any comments on the 22 Building Brighter Futures project?
Any comments or questions? The teachers must be talking about the music spaces because my 6th grader came home very excited about them the other day.
We're very excited to get them in. It's been a long time coming.
Thank you.
All right, and we have a brief update on the Future Ready capital project as well. So this month, on the other side of things, we're just getting started, mainly just demolition in the operations center. That is the only space we have open right now. And then site work, just mobilizing, getting ready. Unfortunately, the weather has not been cooperating to start the site, the new fence at the high school site.
And just to be clear, that was the old HR area, correct?
Yes. Yes, that's the old conference room and HR area.
Thank you.
You missed it there, Michaela?
Schedule for next month, pretty much the same, just making safe and general demolition. We'll be doing floor cuts for the plumber, and we'll be doing some under slab work as well. That is the old boardroom pictured in that. Budget-wise, like I said, complete other side. As Joe mentioned, we are just starting this project, so we are 0% billed as of right now. For the remaining phases, phase 2, we're standing at about $25.7 million budget. Phase 3, $16 million, and phase 4, $18.2 million. And we are standing at about $2.3 million in contingency for this project, with $0 expended in the $199,000 allowance. You'll see here in the operations center some wall and window demolition, as long as some ceilings and floors. Same here, that's the old conference room. And in this one, another just wall demolition. Real exciting stuff going on right now. For the remainder of the project, phase 2 timeline is currently sitting at a timeline of summer to fall bid and award, with construction starting shortly after in the fall and winter of 2026, and we anticipate the closeout at the end of 2028. Phase 3 just started design last month and will get submitted to SED at the end of 2026. And in phase 4, that design will start in April of 2028 with estimated submission to the state in the spring of 2029. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our culture, belonging, and engagement report.
Good evening, Interim Superintendent Dr. Ball, President Coffey, and members of the Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to join you tonight and share an update on the work happening in the area of culture, belonging, and engagement across our district. 2 weeks ago today marks my 1-year anniversary in the district. Yay. So, when I stepped into this role a year ago, my first priority was to listen, learn, and build trust. I spent some time getting to know the people, the practices, and the culture of Gates Chili with the goal of understanding where equity work was and where it was already taking root and where we could grow even stronger. So this is a high-level view of how the work has evolved over the past year. I started by laying a foundation, building relationships, and identifying strengths and gaps. From there, I moved into building community and structures that could support long-term progress. Now I'm focusing on amplifying voices and preparing for the future in more intentional ways. So, early in the year, I started out partnering with Dr. Robert Chalwell, who had been doing some of the work as a contractor for the district to support connection and belonging for BIPOC staff and helping to relaunch what is now known as the Common Ground Collective. I joined the school improvement team meetings throughout all of the buildings to observe how equity was showing up in each building. And I stepped in to co-facilitate the culturally responsive sustaining education framework learning with a new cohort and continued in those cohorts and began a deep dive into 4 years of suspension data to better understand patterns and disproportionality. So, as we move into restorative practices and the CRSC framework, so far 30 staff members and 20 students have been trained in as restorative champions through our partnership with Akobin, and they continue to receive coaching to deepen their practices. We also began planning for next steps for the CRSC framework, including the development of a support staff version of the training to expand our reach and impact. The Common Ground Collective, which was formerly known as the BIPOC group, and for those who don't know, BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, People of Color, which is now the Common Ground Collective, began to expand to include all staff who hold historically underrepresented identities, creating a space for connection, reflection, and growth. Our school improvement teams participated in an equity collaboration day over the summer where we introduced consistent naming across the board, moving them from different names throughout all of the buildings to school improvement team naming through all of the buildings, introduced reporting and accountability structures as well. And in this past December, the equity leadership team came together for a strategic planning retreat that aligned all of our priorities across key initiatives. So a few things that are happening in some of the schools so that you can understand what some of the school improvement teams are working on in their buildings. At Florence Brasser, their school improvement team restructured under new leadership and formed our four focused subcommittees. And these teams are working on everything from culturally responsive literature and professional development to student recognition and cafeteria culture. They're also making student voice and family engagement a visible part of the school's daily life. In Gates Chili High School, at the high school, the focus groups are leading work in 3 key areas. You just heard about this from the high school just a few meetings ago, but there are 3 key areas: are cultural awareness, cultural education, and inclusive school climate. They're especially focused on making sure students in our 1211 and 811 programs feel included and valued as part of the school community. The middle school has expanded both student and staff involvement in their school improvement team. They trained the entire building recently on the use of Panorama social emotional learning data and are planning to have a school-wide SEL half-day in February. They're also preparing to lead the upcoming Community Schools Needs Assessment. In Neil Armstrong, they're integrating culturally responsive literacy and social emotional learning through initiatives like One School, One Book. Their celebrations and belonging work includes school-wide themes, bulletin boards, and student recognition. Staff are also engaged in responsive classroom training and ongoing collaboration to strengthen Tier 1 practices. At Paul Road Elementary School, they've launched Panther Paws, which is a framework for recognizing different types of work, and they have a Tier 1 system grounded in respect, responsibility, compassion, and hard work. They've also introduced the Golden Tray lunchroom program to reinforce shared expectations in common spaces. Student leadership is embedded into many of their celebrations, and their equity subcommittee is planning cultural events, including a sensory-friendly Valentine's celebration coming up. And at Walt Disney Elementary, they've been leading work throughout the school on around neurodiversity, identity, and Tier 1 SEL. They've implemented building-wide neurodiversity lessons, launched their Wish Tree, which is their One School, One Book project, and held family engagement nights around zones of regulations. The team is also developing a respectful terms tool to promote inclusive language across the school. And some of the other things that are happening district-wide, one of our key culture building tools this year was the update of our inclusive communication style guide. I worked in partnership with the communications team to add a new section on harmful language to avoid, which also includes the history behind it and some terms that folks can use in place of some of the harmful terms that many of us have grown up using. This work is supported by the Interrupting Harmful Language training that's being facilitated by our local history and offered to all staff. I'm also working behind the scenes to build data systems that allow us to look at patterns across the years, especially related to discipline and behavior. And the goal is to move from being reactive to being proactive, using data to inform supports before issues escalate. And this year, I joined NYSED on the DEI Leaders Network as the Gates Child-Eye representative, and I now serve as a facilitator within the group as well. And this network allows us to learn from other districts across the state and bring those insights back home to Gates Child-Eye to strengthen our own efforts. So looking ahead, I'll continue expanding the Common Ground Collective and deepening our CRSE framework, say that 3 times fast, and restorative practices work. I'll support our school improvement teams through coaching and accountability and developing dashboards to help leaders make equity-focused decisions in real time. And this first year has been a whirlwind. It's been a lot, but it's been a good lot. And so it's been all about listening, building relationships, and laying the foundation, as I mentioned. And in year 2, I'll focus on embedding the work, measuring the impact, and continuing to evolve. So thank you so much to all of you for your support, your commitment to this work, and I'm so excited for what we'll build together in the coming year. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Carter.
Hello.
Not necessarily a question, but a comment. I am ridiculously excited about the inclusive communication guide, because I think so often we hear of microaggressions and language we shouldn't use, but no one really put it to paper, so people have something to actually go back and reference and study. So kudos, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Giving a side high five to Eva as well.
Absolutely.
Any
Anything else?
additional questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, that moves us forward now to our consensus agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consensus agenda? Ms. Littlewood, Dr. Richards, any discussion? All in favor? Vote is unanimous. Can I have a motion to approve consensus items C through H? Can I have a motion? Ms. Manchella, Mr. Reinhardt, any discussion? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. Can I have a motion to approve the Gates Child-Eye High School New York City step trip? Can I have a motion? Ms. Littlewood, Ms. Jennings, any discussion? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution for probationary administrative appointment for Emily Garino in the 10-year area of assistant principal? Can I have a motion? Ms. Jennings, Dr. Richards, any discussion? All in favor? The vote is unanimous. That moves us forward now to superintendent comments.
Good evening, President Coffey, Vice President Richards, and the Board of Education. Today kicked off the start of the second semester, an important milestone for our school year. In addition to many students at the high school and middle school who may have started new courses today, marks the halfway point for our year. We look forward to sharing more information about what's been happening in our mid-year update at the next board meeting. And with that, I'd like to share a reminder that next Wednesday, February 4th, will be a half day for all Gates Chi students. After students go home for the afternoon, staff will engage in collaborative work focused on key instructional and departmental initiatives, as well as review instructional data to help inform teaching and learning in the second half of the school year. While snow days can be a welcome break and a fun opportunity for families, I want to remind everyone that the state requires districts to provide 180 days of student instruction. If we exceed our allowable snow days, additional instructional days may be needed to add to the school calendar. Because of that snow day last week, or this week I should say, the 6th grade winter choral concert that was scheduled for yesterday will now happen tomorrow. Then on Thursday, 7th and 8th grade chorus students will have their turn. Both events begin at 7 p.m. in the GC PAC. Gates Chi musicians at both the high school and middle school are gearing up for another year of Java Jazz next week. This year's event will take place next Friday, February 6th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. in the GC PAC. This annual event will feature jazz ensembles from the Gates Chi Middle School and High School, along with 2 outstanding professional groups, the Joey Steinpien, I don't know if I said that right, Big Band, and the Molly Collins Quartet, as well as the Brockport High School Blue Notes. Tickets are $10 for general admission and $5 for students and senior citizens. Proceeds will support Gates Chi High School Jazz Band's biannual travel experiences, which have included destinations such as Nashville, Orlando, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. The evening will also include free coffee and beverages, snacks and desserts for purchase, raffle items, and will be hosted by News 8 anchor Brennan Summers. Last Friday evening, students and families from Walt Disney Elementary School braved the winter weather to attend the 4th annual Walt Disney Bingo Night hosted by the Walt Disney Parent-Teacher Organization. The event brought the school community together for an evening of games, prizes, and fun, with support from the Gates Chi High School peer leaders and generous local donors. This popular fundraiser raised more than $3,000 to support programs and opportunities for Walt Disney students throughout the school year. Also last week, the Spartan Fieldhouse was transformed into a circus big top as the community enjoyed Billy Martin's Cole All-Star Circus. The event was a collaborative fundraiser hosted by the Florence Brasser Family Association and the Neil Armstrong Parent-Teacher Organization, bringing students, families, and staff together for an evening of classic circus entertainment. The show featured acrobatics, balancing acts, and comedy, creating a fun and memorable experience while raising $1,000 for each school. And of course, earlier this month, the Harlem Wizards returned to Gates Chi for a high-energy fundraising event benefiting the Gates Chi Education Foundation. The Wizards kicked off the day with visits to all 4 elementary schools and the middle school, engaging students with trick shots and interactive demonstrations. That evening, students, staff, and families filled the Spartan Fieldhouse as the Gates Chi Spartans took on the Wizards in a fun, fast-paced game that celebrated school spirit, community involvement, and student excitement. It also demonstrated why I was not a basketball player. Tonight, the Board of Education approved a new addition to our leadership team. Emily Guarino will be joining Gates Chili as an assistant principal at Florence Brasser Elementary School. Ms. Guarino comes to Gates Chili from the Rochester City School District, where she is serving as Associate Director of Special Education. She is also a parent of a current Brasser Bear. Ms. Guarino will begin working with us after the February break. A big thank you to Mr. Tim Dobberton for stepping up as interim assistant principal these past couple of months, and welcome again to Ms. Guarino. And finally, earlier today, we learned the high school head custodian Todd Carr passed away over the weekend. Many of us who knew Todd knew him to be a kind and quiet person. He was a dedicated member of our team since November of 2022 as both the head custodian at the middle school and most recently as head custodian at the high school. Tomorrow, members of our district trauma, illness, and grief team will be ready to provide support to anyone in our school community who may need time to process this loss. As a district, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the Carr family and all those affected by this loss. Please join me now in a moment of silence in memory of Todd. Thank you. And that is all that I have for tonight, President Coffey.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Emily. All right, can I ask for a motion that the board enter into executive session to discuss appointment or employment of particular persons? Can I have a motion? Dr. Richards, Mr. Long, all in favor? The vote is unanimous. We're now entering executive session.